Peace. I wanted to take a moment and build briefly about 21 Savage paying homage to Rakim at a Halloween costume party. And some of the 5% have been offended by this, and I wanted to give some clarity as to why some were offended. Then also how you can actually reconcile situations like this if they were to occur in the future, which is a possibility. So 21 Savage, in paying homage to Rakim, wore a replica of Rakim's jacket that he wore on the cover of his 1988 album Follow the Leader. Now, Rakim's jacket was designed by Dapper Dan, and his jacket had the universal flag of the 5% on it with his name Rakim above it. Now, Rakim can wear that because he is a member of the 5%, last that I heard. Now, 21 Savage, there is no confirmation whether or not he is a member of the 5% or if he's affiliated with the 5% or if anyone's teaching him. But in paying homage to Rakim as an artist, he wore a replica jacket, which means his jacket also had the universal flag on it, but instead of having Rakim above that universal flag, he had his name 21 Savage above it. And that offended some of the 5% because, like I said, there is no confirmation whether or not he's a 5%er, whether he's studying or if he's affiliated or anything like that. And that is what I wanted to talk about. In our language or in our customs, when we talk about wisdom knowledge, one of the perspectives of wisdom knowledge is that you're doing things backwards because you can't be wise or make wise decisions if you don't know anything first. So the proper order of things is knowledge, wisdom, not wisdom, knowledge. So in our language, we oftentimes refer to people doing things backwards as you're doing things wisdom, knowledge. Also, a savage, according to our lessons, is a person who has lost the knowledge of himself and is living a beast life. So you can see why a 5%er would get offended by a person having that above the universal flag because it is in conflict or contrary to what it is that we teach. Now, this is one of the things that I think is important for us to consider. 21 Savage is a millennial. He's about 26 years old, which means he is the age of one of my children, basically. And in being young, one of the things that you'll notice with some of the millennials or the younger generation is that they oftentimes emulate some of the things that my generation and elder generations have done, but they may not necessarily have the substance or the foundation of why they do certain things. If you just look around, you see a lot of the millennials who are invested in being original or striving to do things that are custom designed or even wearing high top fades or dressing like we dressed in the 80s and in the 90s. But if you ask them, well, why are you wearing a high top fade? They may not be able to tell you anything about that. Or they may be wearing a high top fade or box with it dyed blonde at the top or a blonde streak. And if you ask them who was Kwame, they wouldn't know who Kwame is. So the beauty of that is the fact that they're at least in the ballpark. At least there is some opportunity to have a conversation about something that they're already attracted to, that they're already doing. But it takes us to meet them where they are and to create a teachable moment and turn any of these different scenarios into a classroom and share with them some context to some of the things that they're actually doing. You know, when you're looking at someone like 21 Savage, who there is no confirmation whether he's a 5%er or whether he's being taught or anything like that. Through the years of hip hop, there's always been people who either claim to be 5%ers or were affiliated with the 5% or using elements of the culture in their music who have not always been the best representations of what the culture is either. As much as I like Wu-Tang, as much as I like other different artists, there's things that they say and do which is totally contrary to what we teach as the 5% and what we uphold as dignified standards of our culture. And that's something that has been consistently done. So one of the things that I also realized is some people in my generation and older, this is the first time they even heard about a young millennial artist like 21 Savage. Simply because he wore that costume to a Halloween party. So that says a lot about the disconnect between some of the elder generation and the younger generation, whereas you should always be aware of what some of the younger generation are doing, because if you're going to be the standard or the guides to the younger generation, then you should be aware of who these people are, the things that they're doing, and how you can lend a hand in terms of guidance when it comes to their growth and development. So I thought that that was something that was important to consider as well. That's the first time that some people in my generation and older have even heard about who a 21 Savage is, because he did something like that to emulate some of the things that we do and some of what the elder generation do. So this is one thing that I think that people need to consider. Wherever you don't see evidence of something, that is also simultaneously confirmation of an opportunity to bring light to something that is not there. So use this as a teachable moment, especially with our younger generation. When you see them doing different things, lend them a hand and strive to help support them, especially if they're doing something or they're at least in an area or in the ballpark of things that we see and hold sacred. So this was inspiring, it was empowering, it was educational. I just gave those of you some of my perspective on how it is important for us to use these situations and scenarios, especially with our younger generation, in order to teach as well as learn. Peace.